Hello and welcome to the Education Zone. I'm your host, Josh, and instead of wasting any more time, let's get poppin'. So today I'm going to talk about one of the most amazing things about teaching. And, well, I'm glad you asked. One of the most amazing things, I think, about teaching is being able to teach a group of students that are each unique. Although we've gotten a lot better at accepting students for who they are and their varying perspectives, we still sometimes fall short on fostering a classroom environment where a student can express themselves and their uniqueness. Instead, we can find ourselves as teachers falling into a trap of only teaching to the average student. Although we have come to understand that this idea of an average student doesn't exist, it doesn't mean that this idea still isn't prevalent in classrooms today. The source of this issue can be rooted back in the history of the education system itself, here in Ontario and really across the world. For example, Elwood Cubberley is a pioneer in legitimizing the education as a faculty and field of study in academia. He believed that schools were, and I quote, in a sense, factories in which raw materials, so children in this case, are shaped and fashioned into products to meet the various demands of life, end quote. Now, this may have been okay or even somewhat effective at the time this quote was said, but a lot has changed since the 1920s. Students are not entering the same world. We are not just preparing students for a factory job, and students are certainly more than just raw materials that need to be shaped or even changed to meet an ideal norm or average. Yet, when teachers, and eventually myself included, set certain goals or expectations in their classrooms, there's a risk that students may feel they need to change in order to get approval from their teacher and classmates or peers. Therefore, without even knowing it, a student can be taught or conditioned to believe that conformity has a higher value over authenticity. And that's why it's so important that as teachers that we're aware of the power we have in the classroom and we strive to check in with students as often as possible to see how they're doing or how they feel. Just going to take a quick break here to thank our sponsor for today. Water is vital for our health and well-being, and it is important that each person should aim for about 6 glasses of water a day.
Good for your soul.
That is also very true. Great point. So what are you waiting for? Buy water today and get drinking. You can also use the promo code EDUCATIONZONE for 90% off your first purchase. That's 90% off, and it also is a great way to help support the channel. Thank you. Another issue that can occur when a student feels that their true or authentic self cannot be expressed is that they may check out a class altogether and stop participating. A great way to explain this is by using poker chips as a metaphor. Each poker chip represents a student's ability to engage in class, and each time they do, a risk is taken. Like when you risk betting poker chips during a game of poker. Sometimes these risks pay off and you gain poker chips, other times they don't and you lose them. Depending on the various factors in a student's life or how they feel they fit in the classroom, each student is going to start the day with a varying number of poker chips. Our goal as educators is to ensure that regardless of how many poker chips a student begins the day with or ends the day with, we are creating and fostering opportunities to ensure that every student is getting the chance to gain poker chips and feels that they can take risks and participate in class activities and discussions. For some students, that may mean just showing up to class every day and listening. And that's okay too. Also, another important thing to remember is that because not every student is the same, they have their own strengths and weaknesses, and these can also vary within the same subjects and activities. For example, in hockey, some players are really good at shooting the puck, but this doesn't mean that they're great stick handlers or skaters. Same can be said for students in school. Just because a student is a great reader and enjoys reading books, we shouldn't assume that they won't need help or won't have some trouble writing an essay. So, it is still important to make sure that we are checking in and supporting that student as well. Finally, one more thing I wanted to add before wrapping up is that school can be made fun, and we can include time for students to explore their own interests or topics they want to learn more about. That's another great question. There are actually many things we can do to make school fun and interesting. For example, in an English class, you could read novels that have characters that represent students or that students can connect with better, especially historically underrepresented students. An English class doesn't just have to consist of reading the classics. You can mix it up a bit. You can also integrate technology and its safe and effective use. You could use applications to help with reading and writing, or even software that allows students to find new ways to express themselves in their assignments. Well, that's all I got for this video. I hope what I learned is just as beneficial to your teaching as it was to mine. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more videos. Also, you can hit the bell button and get notified every time we upload a new video. Thanks for watching. See ya.